Hello, my name is Steve Gearhart and this is the Unagi Observer. Thank you very much for stopping by today and watching today's video. Today is going to be a little bit of an odd one because I've actually talked about Christmas in Japan before, but I haven't really focused on one really odd aspect of it, which is KFC. Yes, Kentucky Fried Chicken in Japan on Christmas Day. So how did this happen? Why is KFC a big deal in Japan on Christmas Day? It's not like Christmas Day is an actual holiday in Japan. Most Japanese, as a matter of fact, I believe it's 99% of Japanese are not Christian, so it's not like it's a big holiday like it is here in America. There's still attributes like Valentine's Day where it's very commercialized and like people kind of get into the festive mood, and so there's Christmas trees and lights and parties and things and gift giving, but the actual religion behind it isn't there. So it's a little bit different in Japan. But one of the traditions in Japan is Kentucky Fried Chicken on Christmas Day. How'd that happen? So basically, let's go back in time a little bit. So the Americans win World War II, and we become an occupying force in Japan. So we have a lot of GIs that live in Japan in the 50s. And by the time the 1960 rolled around, of course, we were no longer occupiers, but we became more along the lines of allies and trading partners. And then we would actually become stronger economic partners. And as Japan and America recognized each other as being a good thing economically, like it was both in our best interest to trade with each other and do things with each other economically, we started sending people to Japan to set up or businesses or create mergers and things like that with Japanese corporations who were, by the way, at that time, getting a lot of momentum, getting very strong, and they would eventually become the economic powerhouse that they did in the 80s and early 90s. But they were just starting out. And so during the 60s, we had a lot of Americans living in Japan or temporarily, trying to set up business. And one of the problems that they had, the Americans living in Japan, was that when it came to Christmas, because Christmas is not a holiday in Japan, it's not even a national holiday, it was very hard to find a turkey to eat for a Christmas dinner, or even ham to a certain degree, or the way that's prepared in America. And so a lot of Westerners, meaning Americans, were having a tough time with it, kind of homesick for that kind of thing, and really wanted something that was American for the holidays in Japan. So in 1966, KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, kind of heard about this and said, maybe we should set up a restaurant or two over there, see how it works out. And as they reached out to Japan, the Mitsubishi company reached back. And the Mitsubishi Corporation basically said, hey, why don't we do a partnership? Well, between the laws and trying to get licensing and yada, 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 all that business stuff, it took them 4 years. But in March of 1970, at the Osaka World Fair, the first KFC opened up. And it did well. To say it did well is actually understating it. It did amazingly well. So both the Mitsubishi Corporation and the parent corporation, which is KFC, said, oh my gosh, we really got to do this. And of course, KFC was trying to follow the American model, which is to put KFCs in suburbia, outside of the cities. And the Japanese said, well, hold on. We want to actually urbanize it. We want to put them in the cities because right now we don't have a lot of people going to and forth. We don't really have a suburbia at that time, at this time. So that's really true. In 1970s, in Japan, you either lived in a city or it was rural. There was very few suburban communities in Japan at that time in 1970. So on July 4th, 1970, 4 more restaurants, KFC restaurants, opened up, and they did pretty well. And then they followed the American model and tried to put them in suburban areas, or rural, if I can speak today, areas, and they tanked. They didn't do well, and they lost a lot of money. So the Mitsubishi Corporation said, well, before you pull the plug on this, let's try our idea and let's put it into the cities first and then let it grow out from there. That was the game plan for America. Profits skyrocketed. I mean, it went insane. And as a result of trying to get people to get into it, and part of that insanity, the reason why it did so well was because they were trying to not only promote to the Western Americans, or the Americans who were there, and saying, hey, we know you miss home a lot, and here's something that's great for Christmas. It's Kentucky for Christmas. Get it? KFC, Kentucky for Christmas. So the Mitsubishi Corporation went to the Americans living in Japan and said, here's a tub of fried chicken and mashed potatoes and some rolls, and there's your Christmas dinner. Here you go. Not really understanding that that's not really Christmas dinner here in America, unless you're either drunk and have nowhere to go, or you've burned the Christmas turkey. But what did happen was the Japanese, who quite often take a lot of different ideas and take it for their own and kind of twist it a little bit and tweak it a little bit and make it something for them. That's what they did. And so the Japanese took a look at this and said, wow, okay, so these are what Americans eat on Christmas Day, and Christmas is kind of fun. This is kind of a fun thing to do. Let's get some chicken. And they loved it. And it became an instant tradition. To this day, you have to, and this is going to sound weird for Americans, you have to actually pre-order a tub of chicken in Japan if you want to have a KFC Christmas Day meal. Think about that for a second. In Japan, you actually have to call in an order days in advance to make sure you get your tub of chicken for Christmas Day. Okay, so that was a little bit of a weird little odd tidbit about Christmas in Japan. KFC, enjoy your KFC. If you're in Japan, please enjoy your KFC, your dinner. It's actually really good. It sounds good to me actually right about now. I wish I could actually get some. I don't have one KFC nearby me. I know as odd as that sounds in Baltimore, I don't have one near me. Anyway, so we're at the second to last episode for this season, for this year. So we're going to have one more next week, and then we're going to go to the Christmas break, and then in January, or a little bit before New Year's, you should see a video about where to eat for Anymore. So for those of you who are going to Anymore this year, keep on the lookout for that video. And then we're going to, of course, do the normal season during February, and during January I'll have like little weird things going up onto the site from time to time. So keep checking back. But again, there's one more episode for this season before we go into next. But in between now and then, if you can get some KFC, enjoy it. And thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.